Hey everybody, it's Amy Register with Greater Than Rubies, and today I have a special treat for you. As I have promised, I'm committed to bringing you interesting profiles and interviews of girls, young women who are making a difference for Christ either through their career or through their mission work or their ministry work. And so I have a treat for you today. Vania Batya is with us from Allentown, Pennsylvania, and she's going to introduce herself and tell us a couple interesting facts that not everybody would know about her. So, Vania, this is for you. Give us a little background on you.
Okay, interesting facts. I think most of my friends would tell you that I am crazy. Um, but I'm very interesting and weird. Those are the common words that are addressed when spoken about me. But also, something that's interesting is that my name, as Amy said, is Vania Batya, but it's not actually my legal papers yet, maybe. So I actually chose my last name. My real name is actually Uribe, how you pronounce it in Spanish, and I do know Spanish. I'm Mexican American. But anyways, it's not my legal last name, but it is my last name, and I decided to choose it once I got rebaptized and converted a couple of years ago. And last names represent your heritage, kind of like who's your daddy type of deal. So I recognize God the Father as my dad. So so I decided to go online and choose find a name with that meaning. And so I came across this Hebrew last name, and so I just pretty much changed my Facebook profile, made it official, I guess. And I also like Asian food as much as I like my own heritage food, which is Mexican. It's equal to me. Um, and I also like sunny weather, unlike where I live in Pennsylvania right now, and beaches. Yes, a
Awesome.
lot.
Okay. So now we've got a little bit of background on who you are, where you're coming from. I just want to get from you before we start, what's your favorite Bible verse right now and why? So just give me a couple sentences on what in the scriptures impacting you right now.
Scripture that impacts me right now. Um, the way you worded it right now made me think about another one. But I just I just really like that verse that Jesus says that He came to give us life, life abundantly. I don't like to use abundantly. I like to use my own paraphrase of the Bible, and I would like to say the best life ever. That's what I interpret it as. And so that's what life has been for me ever since I accepted Jesus and I've been serving Him. So that's always the first that can I just right now, that's pretty much right now.
Sonia, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if that's picking up in the recording or not, but if you want to check your mic volume when you get a chance, I can still hear you. I just want it to be as clear as possible. I don't know if Andrew's around or if there's anyone who can offer you tech support while you're talking, but
Well, you can actually be a little louder. So is this better?
yeah, it is better. I'm not
Okay.
sure. There's a little bit of fuzz on the line, so I don't know if that's me or you or what, but we'll just carry on here, and then if it gets bad, we'll disconnect and reconnect. Um, okay, so briefly, I want to know just again 2 or 3 sentences what simplicity is, because then I want to launch into how you got there, and we'll get into the details of programs and what you guys offer later. But just give me a little bit of overview. What is Simplicity Outreach? And then tell me the story about how you ended up choosing this for your life?
Simplicity Urban Outreach Project is an initiative to specifically do mission work in the cities. So it's pretty much in one sentence what it is. But how I got to simplicity, right, is actually I found out about it because a friend posted on Facebook about this mission here in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and he actually never mentioned to me what he was doing. He just posted Facebook, and I go on Facebook, click it, and I read what it's all about. And by then I had already decided, it did take me a long time to decide my career choice, and I had decided to become a social worker. So one of the main focuses was doing welfare ministry. And so I said, well, this is an opportunity to be able to work for visas that me, tending people's needs and helping them out in whatever way possible. So I read the whole document that explained what we did, or what Simplicity did on the website. And at the end, I said, the words that came to my mind, I said, were three words: this is perfect. This is for me. I have to go here. And so I contacted the director, and within probably a month or so, it was confirmed that I was going to be coming to Simplicity all the way from California to Pennsylvania, which I never had been to the East Coast. But anyways, that's how I got here. That was in 2012, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't know how to count.
Cool. So I want to get into some details about what Simplicity actually is and does. I want to start it out by kind of comparing it to something that you've done before. Like, you've been involved with ministry a lot of your life, and that's kind of why they're interested in not only having you as a volunteer at Simplicity, but actually putting you kind of in the administration, right? I mean, your experience. So tell me about Simplicity as it differs from other like literature evangelism programs or other things that you've been involved with before. What's the flavor like? Why did you love this? Why was it that perfect match for you?
Because it was doing ministry the way Jesus did it. I mean, if people weren't, I've done Bible work before, if people weren't interested in Bible studies, then strangely enough, I couldn't help them any other way, and I just move on to the next door when I was doing Bible work. So this ministry really thought about, and I also did canvassing, but if they didn't want a book, then okay, bye. But this ministry is a wholesome ministry. It is actually the wholesome ministry, which entails all of the different aspects of ministry that we should be called to do. Not only studying the Bible with people, meeting people where they're at, their needs, and if we need to bring them food because they don't have food until the next paycheck, then we do that. And also medical missionary work, not in the terms that you might think, but that's pretty much just meeting people's needs and comforting their soul, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So pretty much that's what we do, and that's the ministry we did.
Yeah, so it's kind of like really the encapsulation of it, if you were to boil it down to one thing, you really feel like this method of doing outreach is the way Jesus did it because he's not trying to tug people along to a certain church. Not that you don't have your own beliefs and not that they're not strong and knowledge based, but you're serving, it sounds like, because you love the people, not to try to get something back or get something out of them or measure a number. You find that simplicity is really looking to care for the person. Is that a good analysis?
Oh yes, definitely. And I would add, kind of expound on a comment you made right now was that it's not about expecting something in return. Like God is love, so by nature He's self-giving. Like that's what He does, and so everything we do, we don't ever ask people to pay a fee or what we do. And a lot of them have been surprised at that fact. So, anyways, Jesus never did good, never loved us, so He could expect something in return, for His own good. But it was a blessing, like it says. It's better to give than to receive.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, let's talk about some of the programs that you've been involved with. You were telling me, like, there's all sorts of things, and you were saying that the medical missionary might not be the kind of work that I'm used to thinking. So, like, you're not pulling teeth or you're not doing physical therapy. What are you doing?
Actually, believe it or not, sometimes it feels like I'm pulling teeth. um, with my team. I'm just kidding. Um, or actually, physical therapy. Strangely enough, at one point I was ministering to this woman who owned a coffee shop and was actually giving her massages. So it's kind of like massage therapy. But yes, I know what you're getting at, and we don't necessarily do those things, although that could be part of it too. Like, I mean, if you're certified in whatever, um, skill, you can obviously like use that to help people because if their back hurts, why not, give them a massage or whatever, and for free or something. But we focus a lot more on just being there for people, and that's why it's amazing to know that there's an organization that doesn't necessarily expect me to be certified in a specific skill because you don't need any certification to be able to minister to a person. It might help a lot, but you don't need that. And really, life experience teaches you.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah. So,
that a question?
so what exactly, like, what I understand you're saying is that depending on the skills of the people who are at Simplicity at the given time, projects will come out of that. So, like, if I were to come and work at Simplicity for a year and I was really interested in gardening, I know you guys have some gardeners there doing community stuff. That's something that I'm able to add to. Or if I come and I am a licensed massage therapist, great, you'll put me to work that way. But some people just come with the desire to serve. I noticed you have some really interesting offerings like translation services. What would somebody do like that? How would they represent one of your community members in a situation like that? What could somebody with language skills do there?
Before I answer that question, I just need to say this off the back that I mean, it doesn't take specific skills to run an organization like this one. Really, what it is, any skills that we have, any talents that we've developed, any interests that we have um, taken time to put into, and therefore we've developed skills out of that, is to be used in the church. And that's not only by an organization like Simplicity, but we're more official in that sense that we are an organization. So if anyone is willing to come and offer their skills to service for Jesus, and moving somebody's back, whatever it is, that's possible. And for instance, we have a graphic designer here on the team, and he actually graduated with a bachelor's in graphic design. So, he's a graphic designer, he does all the advertising and design stuff like that. Then we have individuals that, like myself, that have more of the skilled from learned experience. from doing ministry. So really, it's whoever wants to help out in any way because there's different needs.
Awesome. Okay. Um, so can you share with us watching a couple of success stories where you were really able to minister to somebody right where or when they needed it, and that where you know you were blessed and you had that fulfillment that comes from actually meeting needs, not trying to convince someone of something, not trying to be like, hey, I need to tell you about Jesus right now, you better listen, but where you're actually able to see a change in someone's life because you were there.
Right. I do have to say that I do choose to serve Jesus, activate my faith by ministering to people because of me. So that's a selfish thing, but it's a really good selfish thing. And I have to say that off the back because we shouldn't do ministry to see people's lives change or, I mean, that's a blessing, but seeing them grow. So the reason why I choose to do ministry here specifically in Simplicity is because it's been a blessing to me. So whenever I'm not, acting out my faith, then I feel like I'm not growing. So with that being said, um, these it's really like that verse that I mentioned earlier says that it's a greater blessing to give than to receive. So these couple of stories I will share is I definitely saw the change in the individual's lives, and what can you expect? God uses foolish things of the world, and he uses whatever, even if it's silly or just not that qualified or skilled, to bless other people. But I do want to reemphasize that I got, I think, the most out of these experiences. So there's a particular experience I remember with this woman that God brought into my path because he wanted to grow me in patience and mercy and compassion and particularly patience. And when you've been trained, like I have, to do ministry, you're just, they train you and tell you you want to keep away from people that will, take up too much of your time, or, you know, uh, if you've been in Bible work, they're going to say, if they're not interested and they keep like belling out, or they're not home, like it comes to a point where you need to make the decision to quit and move on. There's a lot of people out there that need, that are ripe. So I have come with that mindset here to Simplicity, but God had to show me otherwise, and that's where he asks us to be perfect like him and going second miles with people, even when we think like, okay, this is it, I need to move on. And this particular woman, that's exactly what happened. And I mean, I was helping her out. I mean, I would get the, when I was here a couple years ago, we would actually get stipends as volunteers. And I mean, sometimes my stipend check would get to me, and really, I'd like give it up just to help this woman in whatever situation she found herself. And, there's always limits and boundaries you need to set with yourself. But again, I need to reemphasize that if it's an experience God is giving you and he's asking you something, rather than looking at like, maybe I should, I guess, set more boundaries in this, like you have to ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me out of this? So regardless of that, setting boundaries or whatnot, I would see my check, go out to her, to this woman, whether it was through bills, rent, whatever. She always found herself in a situation where she needed help financially, or she'd call me and she'd be stressed or depressed or whatnot. I mean, it came to a point where she was getting kicked out of, within the year that I was here, that I knew her a couple years ago, she was getting kicked out of apartments because she couldn't pay rent. And so it came to a point where I had to sit down with her after speaking to my director, and he says, you need to be very frank with her, which I had been. But this time I sat down and I was like, okay, you need to learn from this mistake. I came with that in mind. And it was the right thing to do. You don't want to be enabling them to keep doing things. So I sat sat down with her, the footsteps of here, the center, and I told her, like, you really need to learn to, like, use your money wisely, and and to just be careful with the decisions you make, particular financially. And as I was sitting there, like, I just felt God soften my heart and say, like, this is you, Vanya. Like, you keep making the same wrong things, same stupid decisions over and over again. And I remember by this time I was very drained of helping her. I wasn't tired of helping her, but she just had drained. Sometimes there was days where I just spent hours with her. She felt so depressed and she was just venting to me. Or I had to take care of her two granddaughters because some dilemma in her family came up. I mean, I just felt like I was here just to help her. And although I saw it in a very narrow view, I remember sitting down with her and she started crying. She's like, I know. And she admitted to her problems, and she admitted that most of it was because of the wrong decisions she had made. It just hit me. It finally hit me, and I said, wow, how many times have I done this as well? And there was so many times where I felt like quitting on her and like telling, like, for her just to learn the lesson. But as she sat there, she started telling me, like, thank you for sticking through with me to this moment. Like, I know there's been times where I can annoy you, and I'm sure, like, you have all reason to become impatient and quit on me, but thank you for sticking through with me. And I was just drawn back, and I realized, wow, that is what God does to us. And so I continued, obviously visiting her and whatnot. And God definitely, like, showed me that how to, like, stretch mercy and grace and patience to the whole nother level. And then the second one is a bit shorter. I'm very passionate about, I think we all should be, especially when we're giving an opportunity to be part of a Bible study or spiritual conversation, even if that wasn't the original turnout or agenda of the situation. But I'm very passionate to make an appeal for people to get to know Jesus, and to just, even if I have like a few minutes, to just tell them about the gospel. And so I was working with the children's program when I was here, and at one day, and I just remember there was this kid that would come in, and he would pay attention, he would go be part of our activities, our kids lunch, brunch, and then also during the week for children's group Bible study. And he came one day for the children's group Bible study on a Monday, and I did a little Bible study with them. And then at the end, I made the appeal like I usually do. Um, if anybody want to accept Jesus. And again, I went through the gospel and what he's done for us and whatnot, and how he can actually help us overcome um, our sinful nature, that makes us get angry. And I just started like being so specific, help us to stop cursing. And I started, like the Spirit was just impressing me to say random things. And I saw him, and his eyes started to open really wide. And I was like, wow, the Spirit's really working in this little boy. He was like 10, 11. And so I finally asked, raise your hand if you want Jesus to come into your heart. And that we know of, like, he had never asked Jesus in his heart. So anyways, he raised his hand, and he just like shot it up. And he and then he looked at me, and he's like, so Jesus can really help me, like, be a better person? And then I said, yes. And so I led them out in a prayer. I had him with other children repeat the prayer, the sinner's prayer, and also for Jesus to help them out, have victory over whatever bad habits. And at the end of the prayer, I re-emphasized that once they've done that prayer, like, you can ever get a new creation. And then really, like, if we start off with a new life, and we gotta believe in that promise. And he looks at me, and he's like, so, like, I'm new? Like, I'm a new person now? And then I was like, yeah, Jesus has forgiven you. He's like,
Our screen is frozen up.
really? And he was just so And then as I was driving him, I'm sorry?
Our screen's having a little
I'm
bit of
sorry?
trouble. I don't know if it's the internet connection where I am or where you are. Let me see if I can
Okay.
hear you clear again. Yeah, that's better. Sorry. Um, can,
It's okay. What's the last thing you heard?
it was really clear about this little boy and his hand shooting up, and he had never accepted Jesus into his heart, but now he realizes he's a new person.
Yes. And so I ended up driving him home, and he was just so surprised and overwhelmed with the idea that he was a new creature in Jesus and he was going to help him be, different, a good boy. And as I'm dropping him off, I was driving, so I couldn't turn around. So I just kind of said out loud, "So who invited you today?" Because he wasn't a regular too much, specifically on our Bible study group that day. And he said, he like immediately said, he's like, that Jesus saved me and he's forgiving me and I'm a new person. And I said to myself, that's not what I asked him. But I mean, that just led me to know, that really, like, he was excited, he was processing what the decision he had made. So I just didn't bother to re-ask the question, and he got off. And later, I guess he started attending our kids' brunch, and I didn't know much about him. I hadn't interacted much with him. But we come to find out that his neighbor, which is a volunteer here at the center, who actually accepted Christ because some of our missionaries went to her door, had already been coming and bringing her kids to one of the programs. But later, she tells us that she had noticed the difference in this little boy's attitude, and just like he used to bully her kids, curse at them, and everything. And all of a sudden, one day, he just stopped and he was so nice to them. And we told her the experience, and she was just amazed. And we realized that Jesus was really working in this little boy's heart, and that, the neighbor who actually comes to our community center and involved her kids here too was seeing the fruits of that. So we praised God for that, and I praise God for that.
That's so cool. Both those stories are really encouraging. I think that what those stories do is reiterate for me the uniqueness of Christ in all the possible gods or historical figures that people look up to. Christ is the one who actually says that he will remake us in a better image, that his influence will go so deep that we become different, more likable, more lovable people. And I know, Vania, that you agree that that is one of the big reasons to be interested in this God. So, just in case there's anybody watching this who hasn't taken a serious look at Jesus, at his beauty and his ability to enter a life and to change it, I want to join with you right now. I know you will probably want to say a couple words, but I do want to invite you to take a serious look at the person of Christ, um, not just from a historic perspective, but to see, give him a chance to work your life, to give you a different attitude. And you follow up. You say what you want to, Vanya. I know that's something that gives you joy too.
Right. I do have to add, though, that later, as this boy started coming back to our center, he was the one keeping everyone else on check, that they wouldn't curse, that they would behave and pay attention, something that he was having trouble with earlier. So Jesus really does transform hearts, and that's why I still do this. And but particularly the fact that really, I mean, I did, like I said earlier, when you mentioned ministry in different stages of my life, for most of my life, especially graduating high school and during high school, but I've never experienced ministry as now, because I've made Jesus the center. And it's so sad for me. I have to point this out, because there's people doing ministry doing Bible studies. They've been doing it for years. They've been in church for years. Even serving God. I mean, they truly believe so, but they miss Jesus, and I don't understand how that can happen. But that's what really is going to attract people to us, but most importantly him, because he wants to transform them. And so going back to the one of my favorite verses that I mentioned earlier, like Jesus does give you like the best life ever, full of love, joy, peace. I mean, blessings, spiritual blessings, because you not only get to see your own transformation, but transformation in the lives of others. So make just Jesus the center of your life. Keep reminding yourself of that. And like Paul says, like let that be the thing that you just grow deeper in, which is God's love for you through his son Jesus and what he came to do for us.
Hey, Vanya,
Yes.
somebody might be watching right now and they're thinking, hey, this sounds like a place where I might want to go. Maybe they've been ministers, maybe not. They're interested in putting their life to use in service of others. How could
Yeah.
they get ready for, maybe apply to the Simplicity Volunteer Program? How could they see about getting involved, and what would it take for them to be a good match for Simplicity?
I mean, it's pretty much if you have accepted Jesus in your heart, like he's going to put you to work, and that's the only way that your faith can grow. So really, um, and he puts that desire for you to tell others about the good news that you've experienced in your life. So if that's you, you can be part of Simplicity, pretty much. And but I do have to say though that you have to be willing to use everything that has given you, all your might for him, if you are considering joining us. And I do have to say before I do say a little bit of information of how you can actually contact us if you want to do join us, is that wherever you find yourself, really you have to make Jesus the center, and you should. And by doing that, you're going to attract so many people to him, and we'll see lives transformed. So it doesn't matter if you're not part of Simplicity. It doesn't matter if you're not part of have an official title for ministering like Bible work or co-porter, whatever it is. I do have to say that make Jesus the center, and you will see lives changed, especially yours. And I do have to add, though, in regards to Simplicity, you can contact us. Check out our website, our community website, and what we do, and it's found at www.simplicityouttdoor. But also, if you want to get involved with us, once you see the website, you can contact us at our email, and we'd be more than glad to send you that a document. I mean, tons of pages on research that my director did of why Simplicity is so different, really different than all the ministries going on that I've actually been a part of and more. So there's something very, very unique and special about our mission, our vision. And yes, we make Jesus the center, but at this time that we're living in, which I believe are the, end of the time before Jesus comes, there's a special vision and mission that God commands us to set forth, and that's what we at Simplicity also consider and we strive to work for.
Awesome. So you're saying that almost anybody could be a match. You're also saying don't feel like you have to join Simplicity or a program like it, that people can be everyday missionaries. I believe you used the term before, everyday missionaries, to give their lives to the cause of love, really is what God calls us to. Now, there might be
Yeah.
somebody watching here who is a leader in a church somewhere, and they really are interested in the model that you guys are using. Maybe not to volunteer themselves, but to start a little, maybe slightly more formal organization. Does your website have info about that, or who would they contact if maybe a church conference or a parish or whoever's watching wants to start something similar to reach out with the love of Jesus in their area?
I do have to say that we did have that document I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
It's actually research. Like, we're just not, randomly, oh, just here, and tons of people that want to serve Jesus, although we do, in reality. I mean, this was researched through scripture and what we believe is also inspired writings of God for the time that we are living in, also known as spirit of prophecy. And so um, there is research and a lot of documentation on how we go about things here. And actually, our director, I have a little advertising, he is actually almost finished writing a book on the biblical model of how we have to go about centers of influence when we're doing missionary work in urban cities. So I can't wait for his book to come out. But meanwhile, do contact us to our email, which is contact@simplicityoutreach.org. It's that simple. And tell us in your email that you're interested in getting those documents that he put hours, years, and a lot of prayer and time into so that we could be doing what we're doing. But never forget that wherever you're at, you can actually not only work for Jesus, like I mentioned before, I'm not going to reiterate that, but secondly, like you mentioned right now, Amy, you can actually start a model like the one we have if you really feel called to like doing, like going all out and possibly even doing full-time ministry. But I'm excited for those that will contact us and are very interested in how we go about things here.
Great, thanks so much. I just want to thank you, Vania Batya. I also want to thank my hosts. I'm in the lovely loft department of Juanita and Marcela Montalongo because they're cool like that and they have better internet than I do. So those contacts that Vania gave us, the web links, whatever, they will be in the notes underneath this video. Make sure that you check them out. I've got their Facebook address in there as well. And if you have any questions, please contact Vania. If you would like to contact Simplicity, I know they've got tons of outreach stories that would benefit your church and your people to encourage them to be everyday missionaries. And hopefully we can reclaim that word of doing evangelism. Some people are freaked out about evangelism. But Vania, what you've told us today is that that's as simple as helping someone out. And when they ask, being ready to tell them about Jesus. So thank you so much for joining me today, Vanya, and I know that God is going to continue to bless you and all those that you're working with at Simplicity. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
God bless. Bye.